Welcome to I Got My Miracle. I'm John Jacob Mubarak. I'm here with my new friend Omar, who was with us all week. We had a great hello, and I'm really excited to share this amazing week that Omar had. I had the hit to invite you to do this yesterday when I said, "Hey, how are you doing?" And you're like, "Oh my God, I'm so good." And something said, "Ask him."
Yeah.
And so,
and I think the way that you framed the question was, did your intentions
did you fulfill your intentions?
Did you fulfill your intentions? And my response was,
Yeah.
my intentions fulfilled me, or something along those lines.
And then some.
And more.
And
yes.
more.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
You know, we say you get a miracle here.
Yeah.
And it struck me when you were sharing, we were talking a little bit before we went live, and you had said that you do retreats. You go to a retreat every year on your birthday, and every year at the end of the year.
Yep.
You're on this path. You've been doing a lot of work, right? This isn't, a new thing for you.
Right. Yeah.
But something miraculous happened this week. Tell us about that. What was the thing, like, before you came and who you are today? What was the miracle?
Yeah. Complex question. I'll start by saying that, yes, I go to different retreats, whether they're focused on, a yoga and meditation retreat, or it's an Ayurvedic retreat just to kind of reset my system. But this for me represented an opportunity to go deeper. And I was at a retreat last New Year's and in Carefree, Arizona. And one of the spiritual leaders at the retreat mentioned that if I wanted to go deeper, that I should consider Aya as a medicine, and specifically recommended rythmia. And so I came in knowing that there would be some form of deepening, but I didn't understand what it would be. And so my intentions were really around, trust, safety, navigating control, surrendering, accepting. And I'd say that when I stepped into the experience, I may not have recognized it in the morning or in that moment, that I was a bit dissociated, right? Like I was here, but I wasn't fully here. And you don't really know the value of light until you've experienced darkness, right? Those contrasts or those polarities really bring things into focus. And I didn't realize how dissociated I was until after the miracle. And the reason why, the telltale for me was, I interacted with people more yesterday after my miracle in one day than I had the 4 days before it, because I felt so integrated, connected, and in community with the folks that were part of the experience with me.
Let me ask you,
please.
You said I was so dissociated. Now I have a clear idea of what dissociation is. Obviously, you do too. Share it with me, if you would. Sure. What was dissociated for you?
Yeah, I was here, like in physical form, but my embodied experience was very different, right? Like I felt distant and disconnected from others who were here in this experience with me. I felt a bit detached from myself and from others. And in part, I was tired, right? Like I came for an end of year retreat. So imagine all of 2025, coming to a head, and I was spent. And so for me, it was, all right, I felt out of alignment. It's like I needed a tune-up, right? Like the wheel started to shake, right? The steering wheel started to shake. The air conditioner wasn't quite putting out the air that I expected, right?
So, but let me ask you, what's the difference between this retreat and maybe the other Ayurvedic retreats? Or, I mean, because I'm sure you had great experiences at those places. And what's the difference here?
Yeah.
For you?
I'd say for me, a few things. One, the surprise and delight, right? There's a lot of like mystery around, okay, what's behind the rythmia veil, right? Because you hear so many great things out in the healing community about the center. So I think that was one of the questions that I had. And from the minute I walked out of the airport and saw the rythmia sign, up until this point, every interaction has been about care, concern, compassion, like a really thoughtfully designed experience. So for me, amazing. I'd say that's number one. Because for me, like that represents the base of Maslow's, right? Food, water, shelter. That was secure, right? Because if I'm going to go on this journey with Aya, I need to make sure that all of the kind of fundamentals are in order.
Very well said.
Beautifully done here. I'd then say that the way that Aya as a medicine is introduced throughout this journey, it's not just a one-off, we're going to plop you into ceremony and like, let's go for a ride. It was like, no, there's a process to prepare you for what the experience will be. There's a lot of focus on your body, even before I got here, right? Like going through the cleanse and preparing my body for what was to come, and, you know, detoxing the use of, you know, social media or other dependencies that I've developed. I think that was also part of the journey of like preparing myself for that experience, along with the, you know, the yoga, the meditation, all of that equipped me, right? So I felt really well equipped leading up to it. But then after the fact, there were opportunities for us to unpack and make sense of the experience, so that you're not just out there questioning like, well, what was that, right? Like as a community, we would come together to talk through that. And I think that's an additional benefit of this kind of cohort-like intact group experience, is that we developed our own kind of safety circle with each other going through this experience together. So that would be number two. So one, from airport up until now, just a lot of the care and concern for the participants. Two, all of the intentional design around like preparing us for the experience, going through the experience and after. And then I'd say the third one, I'd say the healers themselves, right? Like having access to the amount of wisdom that you all bring to this experience is extremely powerful, because it can be, especially when you think about the amount of vulnerability that people are stepping into this space with, right? Having access to folks that have that level of wisdom to help you navigate, for me, is extremely important. So I'd say those are the three distinctions when I compare previous experiences to this one.
Beautifully said. Really articulate, brother. Thank you. And there was a moment where you said, I got my miracle. And you were sharing with me a little bit. What was that moment?
Yeah. So, you know, when I set out on this journey, the focus for me, well, actually taking a step back, when I was at the last retreat, it was New Year's 2025. And the two words that I set as intentions for this year were surrender and acceptance. And I went into one of the medicine ceremonies with a desire to explore my relationship with control. And, you know, I think in part growing up early on, you know, I may not have felt the safety that other children feel. And as a result, I've been conditioned to be very controlling of my environment, right? Because I'm optimizing for the safety that I didn't naturally have. And so the experience for me was, all right, let me go and set this intention around safety, trust, all of that. And I can actually share it because it's here. Help me release the need to control in order to feel safe. Teach my body how to trust and stand fully in who I am without apologizing for my presence or my truth. And so while I was in ceremony, there was a moment where my body started to react to the music. And I was kind of, okay, this is different. I'm feeling it at a in a very embodied way. And I allowed it. And then there was a moment where the medicine presented an opportunity for me to properly surrender. And so my body just kind of stopped moving. And I had to really focus on my breath in that moment, because I felt like I had lost control. And the moment that I softened and I said, Aya, I trust you, it shifted from me kind of white knuckle holding on to this false sense of control to a very gentle softening, where I was able to go on this very beautiful journey that was guided by Aya. And I think that was a really big turning point for me when I was able to like relinquish control.
That's it.
Yeah.
And you had shared with me earlier that there were a series of events in your childhood that had you, you know, create the strategic solution of control to mitigate not feeling safe.
Yep.
Which is really how it works. It's classic, right? We have an experience. That experience creates a feeling that we're not comfortable with. I'm not safe. I don't belong. I'm not lovable.
Right.
And then we create these strategies as kids to not feel that.
Right.
And they're smart. They're smart strategies until they're not.
Right.
And when we grow up, but we're still operating according to this old paradigm. And so beautiful that in that moment you were able to trust again. Now, are you this is a huge piece, right? Like a lifetime of needing to control, white knuckling it, as you say, and there's something like a finality about this. Like, this isn't going to come up again. And I know that you're going to enjoy our integration program, because it's this beautiful integration app that will help you integrate, right, this new insight. So I want to ask you another thing. You had mentioned briefly coming together as a cohort. How did you find the classes? There's the integration class, there's an introductory workshop, there's so many classes. And I'm not digging for a compliment on mine. But tell me about your experience in the classes, and did you have insights in the classes that helped you in ceremony?
Yeah. So, there's a book out there, Your Body Keeps a Score, right? And so a lot of the trauma, whether in the context of our, current life, or whether in the context of, past generations, like, it's stored at a very cellular level. And I'm going to go off on a bit of a sidebar, and then we'll come back to your question. And the way that my control shows up, or that lack of safety, is on the left-hand side of my lumbar, my left lumbar, super, super, super tight, to the point where in high stakes situations, that's the first thing that tenses up. I remember about 3 years ago, I started a new job. I was presenting. At the end of the presentation, I went to stand up and I felt a tug. I went and I saw my chiropractor. And what he mentioned is that I actually dislocated the top 3 ribs, detached, because of the amount of pressure that was coming down. So I think that for me is a really clear example of how that stored, trauma, anxiety, anxiousness shows up. And during the experience that I shared earlier, when I let go of control, I actually felt, what we call here a surgery, right? Where there's this internal kind of twizzle that's happening along my left lumbar. And since then, I've felt like a softening around my back, which has been amazing. To your question around, the way that the courses are set up and the value of them. So to the point around Your Body Keeps a Score, like, I thought that it was really helpful for me before going into the medicine ceremony to focus on yoga, breathing exercises, meditation, to ensure that I was mentally, physically, emotionally equipped to step into that experience and go through the surrender that I wanted for myself. And so the courses did all of that and more. So I think it not only was it helpful for priming, but then the courses after the fact were super helpful just to make sense of what had happened. Because some of the insights for me happened in context of that mirror experience, right? When you're hearing from a peer that went through an experience and you're like, oh, snap, I went through something similar. How was that? And so there was a lot of collective sense making that helped me kind of go through this process.
Really amazing, man. Amazing. I'm so grateful. Is there anything else that you'd want to share before we go?
Trust your inner knowing. So if there's something in you that is being nudged on, tugged on, called on to explore this type of an experience, I'd say answer it. I remember when I was living in the Bay Area during COVID, I kept receiving energy from my grandmother in Puerto Rico. And I asked a spiritual healer, hey, what should I do? Like, I'm feeling this energy. And she simply said, like, what do you do when someone calls? I said, well, you answer. I put all of my belongings on Facebook Marketplace and on my car on Swap-A-Lease. I kept the essentials and I moved to Puerto Rico and spent the last 3 years of my grandmother's life with her. So I answered the call, I listened, right? And that's a decision that I don't hold lightly and that I'm really grateful that I had. And so that would be the one thing that I'd say. If you feel the calling, answer, right? Because your intuition is nudging you towards something that would be beneficial. And yes, there's a lot of mystery around like, what is Aya? And what I'd offer in terms of that is, given the mystery around Aya, I wouldn't have wanted to experience it anywhere else, right? Just because of the amount of, again, care, concern, the quality of the grounds, the spa facilities, the massages, like the quality of the instructors, like it's been top notch.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much, brother.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a pleasure. Yeah. You're just so articulate and it's lovely. I was just sitting here going, wow, you did all the work. I don't do anything. I like ask question and boom. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we hope to see you at Rythmia. Come see us. We'd love to see you.
Cheers.
Yes. Happy New Year.